The engine coughed black smoke into Cale's face. He jerked back, wiping oil from his eyes, cursing under his breath. Another failed ignition. The freighter's drive core was older than most colonies, and he was 3 days behind schedule. His shop on the edge of New Kandara Spaceport saw every broken-down rust bucket in the sector, but this one fought him like it wanted to die. Then he heard the sound.
A whimper, high-pitched.
Wrong. Cale froze, wrench still in hand. The spaceport was empty at this hour, just before dawn. The massive cargo haulers cast long shadows across the landing pads, and the twin moons painted everything in silver and blue. He listened. There it was again, coming from the waste disposal area behind his shop. He shouldn't investigate. Smart people didn't poke around dark corners on a frontier station where 7 different species traded everything from legal goods to things that could get you spaced. But Cale had never been particularly smart about these things. He grabbed a plasma cutter just in case and moved toward the sound. The disposal area stank of fuel waste and rotting organic matter. Cale's boots crunched on gravel as he rounded the corner of a massive trash compactor. The whimpering grew louder. Behind a stack of empty fuel drums, something moved. Cale raised the plasma cutter, thumb on the ignition. Come out slow. What emerged wasn't what he expected. It was small, maybe the size of a house cat, with scales that shimmered iridescent purple in the moonlight. 4 legs, 2 wings folded tight against its body, and a long sinuous tail that curled around itself. Its eyes were huge and golden, pupils dilated with fear. Blood matted the scales along its left wing. A dragon? A baby dragon. Cale had seen pictures, heard stories. The Draconid Empire controlled 12 systems on the far side of the Reach. They were old, powerful, and they did not come to human space. Ever. Their queen, Cirithus the Eternal, had ruled for 3 centuries and maintained absolute isolation from the younger species. This creature shouldn't exist here. It whimpered again, trying to drag itself forward. The injured wing hung useless. Easy, Cale said, lowering the plasma cutter. I'm not going to hurt you. It was shaking. Cale crouched slowly, making himself smaller. He'd grown up on a farm colony before the crop failure drove his family to the stations. He knew frightened animals. You're a long way from home, aren't you? The dragon made a sound between a chirp and a growl. Something crashed in the distance. Voices. Multiple voices speaking in clipped tones. Cale's blood went cold. Those weren't human voices. He looked at the dragon, at its golden eyes locked on his face. At the wound that was definitely from a weapon, not an accident. Someone had shot it. Someone was hunting it. The voices grew closer. Cale made a decision that would change everything. He scooped the dragon up, ignoring its frightened squeal. It was heavier than it looked, warm against his chest. He ran back to his shop, hit the door control with his elbow, and dove inside just as the security lights from the far pad swept across his position. The door hissed shut. Cale set the dragon on his workbench, breathing hard. It tried to scramble away, but couldn't put weight on the injured wing. Up close, he could see the wound more clearly. Plasma burn, clean-edged, military grade. Who shot you? He whispered. The dragon stared at him with those impossible eyes.
Outside, the voices stopped directly in front of his shop.
Cale killed the lights. His heart hammered. Through the grimy window, he could see shadows moving. Tall shadows, not human. A fist pounded on the door. Once. The dragon made a terrified sound. Cale pressed his hand gently over its snout. Quiet. Please be quiet. The pounding came again, harder. Cale's mind raced. If he opened the door, they'd see the dragon. If he didn't, they'd know he was hiding something. Either way, he was dead or worse. The door control beeped. Someone was overriding it. His shop was small, cluttered with parts and tools, nowhere to hide something as distinctive as a dragon. His eyes landed on the freighter engine he'd been working on. The access panel was still open. It was insane. He grabbed the dragon, feeling it tense in his arms. Trust me, he said, though he had no idea if it understood. He shoved the creature into the engine compartment, behind the cooling array where the shadows were deepest. The dragon's eyes reflected the faint emergency lighting, golden coins in the darkness. Don't move. Don't make a sound. 3 figures entered. Not human. Not any species Cale recognized immediately. Tall, armored, moving with the fluid precision of trained soldiers. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but their body language radiated menace. The lead figure stopped 3 feet from Cale. When it spoke, its voice came through a translator, flat and emotionless. "You will surrender the hatchling." "I don't know what you're talking about. We tracked it to this location. You will surrender it now, or you will be eliminated as an accomplice to theft of royal property."
Royal property. The pieces clicked into place.
This wasn't just any dragon, this was someone important. Important enough to send hunters across space to retrieve it. Cale met the soldier's hidden gaze. "There's nothing here but me and broken engines." The soldier's hand moved to a weapon at its hip. The soldier's fingers touched the grip of what looked like a sonic disruptor. Cale had seen those weapons tear through metal like paper. His body would be unrecognizable. "Search the facility," the lead soldier said. The other two moved immediately, splitting up to cover more ground. They walked with purpose, scanning every corner with devices that projected blue light across surfaces. Cale's shop wasn't large. They would find the engine compartment within minutes. Cale forced himself to breathe normally. "You want to tell me what royal property you're talking about? Because last I checked, this is a free port. You can't just storm in here making threats." The lead soldier tilted its head, a gesture that seemed almost amused. "Your local authorities have been informed of the situation. They will not intervene. The Draconid Empire's reach extends further than you comprehend, human. Draconid Empire." So he'd been right. One of the searching soldiers approached the freighter engine. Cale's pulse spiked. "That's an active repair," he said quickly. "The core's unstable." You don't wanna... The soldier ignored him, moving closer to the open access panel. Behind him, Cale heard the faintest sound. A tiny whimper, barely audible. The dragon was terrified. The soldier stopped. Its helmet turned toward the engine. Cale's mind raced. He could rush the soldier, try to grab its weapon. He'd be dead before he took 2 steps. He could activate the engine, but that would kill the dragon and probably destroy his shop. He could found something, the soldier said. Cale's heart stopped. The soldier reached into the engine compartment. Its armored hand emerged holding a piece of fabric, purple silk, torn and stained. Not dragon scales. Not the creature itself. "This is Draconid weave," the soldier said, holding it up to the light. "The hatchling was here." The lead soldier moved closer to Cale. "Where is it?" "There's nothing here." "You are lying. You won't find anything that shouldn't be here." Then it made a gesture, and the other two resumed their search with increased intensity. They pulled apart storage bins, scattered tools, tore open shipping containers. The noise was tremendous. Cale watched helplessly as they destroyed his livelihood. But they weren't finding the dragon. The creature had somehow stayed completely silent and still despite the chaos. After 20 minutes, the lead soldier called a halt. "The hatchling is not here," it said. "But you know where it went." Cale shrugged, trying to project innocence. "Maybe it ran. A scared thing like that. Could be anywhere in the port by now." The soldier stepped closer, near enough that Cale could see his own reflection in its dark faceplate. "If we discover you are sheltering it, the consequences will extend beyond your death, your family, your friends, everyone you have ever known. The Empire does not forgive such transgressions." Cold fear slid down Cale's spine. But he kept his face neutral. "Good thing I'm not sheltering anything then." Waiting. He stood motionless for 5 full minutes after the door closed, listening to the sound of his own breathing. Finally, he moved to the engine compartment. The dragon peered out at him with those golden eyes. "You can come out," Cale whispered. "They're gone. For now. I'm not going to hurt you, I promise." After a moment, the dragon crawled forward. It was trembling violently. Cale lifted it carefully, mindful of the injured wing. The creature was lighter now, as if fear had hollowed it out. He carried it to a small office in the back of the shop, a cramped space with a cot, a hot plate, and not much else. "Let me look at that wing," he said. The dragon tried to pull away. I know it hurts, but if I don't treat it, infection will kill you faster than those soldiers." The dragon went still, as if it understood. Cale grabbed his medical kit, basic supplies he kept for the inevitable shop injuries. The plasma burn was worse up close, edges black and crispy. He cleaned it as gently as possible, but the dragon whimpered and its claws dug into his workbench. "Almost done," Cale murmured. "You're doing great. Just a little more." He applied synthetic skin and a binding to keep the wing stable. Not perfect, but it would do until he could figure out what to do next. The dragon watched him the entire time. Its breathing slowed. The trembling eased. "There," Cale said. "That should help." Cale sat back, suddenly aware of how insane this situation was. He was harboring a fugitive from an alien empire. Soldiers were hunting for it. They would be back. And when they found out he'd lied, "Why did they shoot you?" he asked. "What happened?" For a moment, Cale could have sworn it was trying to answer. Then it simply curled up on the workbench, exhausted. Cale rubbed his face. He needed to think. The smart move was to turn the creature over, save himself. But when he looked at those golden eyes, at the tiny wounded thing that had trusted him enough to stay quiet and still while soldiers tore apart his shop, "I must be the biggest idiot in the sector," he muttered. The dragon's tail twitched, almost like a cat's. Cale checked the time. Dawn was coming. The station would wake up soon, and more eyes meant more danger. He needed to hide the dragon somewhere better, somewhere those soldiers wouldn't think to look. His comm unit buzzed. Cale froze.
He checked the ID.
"Unknown origin," he answered, keeping his voice steady. "Yeah?" Static. Then a voice distorted by interference but unmistakably feminine and deeply angry. "Human mechanic. You have something that belongs to the Eternal Throne. Return it unharmed, and you will be rewarded. Refuse, and you will learn why the Draconid Empire has endured for millennia." The connection cut. Cale stared at the comm unit. That wasn't the soldiers. That was someone else, someone higher up the chain. The dragon made a frightened sound. "It's okay," Cale lied. "We'll figure this out." But he had no idea how. Outside his window, the first rays of dawn began to paint the sky orange and gold. In the distance, he could see movement. Ships landing, ships taking off. And among them, sleek dark shapes that didn't belong to any of the regular trading companies, more Draconid vessels. They were locking down the station. Cale looked at the dragon, at its wounded wing and trusting eyes. He thought about the threat. About his family, long dead from colony failure. About his friends, few as they were. About the life he'd built here from nothing. Then he thought about the whimper he'd heard in the darkness. About a frightened creature bleeding and alone. About the choice between safety and doing what was right. "Guess we're in this together," he said quietly. The dragon chirped again, softer now. Cale started gathering supplies. If they were going to survive this, he needed to be smart. He needed to be careful. And he needed to figure out why a baby dragon was running from its own people. Cale worked fast. He packed a bag with tools, medical supplies, and enough ration bars to last 3 days. The dragon watched from the workbench, head tilted, eyes tracking his every movement. "I need to know if you understand me," Cale said, meeting those golden eyes. "If you do, blink twice." The dragon stared at him. Then, deliberately, it blinked. Once. Twice. Cale's breath caught. "You're intelligent. Not just an animal. Make sounds that mean things?" The dragon opened its mouth. What came out was a series of chirps, growls, and something that might have been words in a language Cale didn't recognize. It sounded frustrated, like it wanted to communicate but couldn't. "Your vocal cords aren't developed yet," Cale guessed. "You're too young." "Yes. Those soldiers. They hurt you? Are they trying to take you back home?" The dragon's whole body tensed. It made a sharp negative sound and shook its head violently. "You don't want to go back." Cale paused. "Are you running away?" Double blink. "From what?" "Your family?" The dragon looked down. Its tail curled tight. After a moment it blinked twice again, but the gesture seemed reluctant. Cale's mind raced. A royal hatchling running from its own family. That meant politics. Power struggles. Things far above his pay grade. But it also meant the dragon wasn't stolen property. It was a refugee. "Listen," Cale said. "I'll help you, but I need to hide you somewhere better. Those soldiers are going to come back, and next time they won't be polite about searching. Can you stay quiet? Really quiet?" Double blink. Cale grabbed a reinforced cargo crate from his storage area, one he used for delicate engine parts. He lined it with thermal blankets to block heat signatures and created air holes disguised as drainage ports. "It's not comfortable, but it'll keep you safe. Okay?" The dragon looked at the crate, then back at Cale. It made a sound that might have been agreement. Cale placed the creature inside gently, mindful of the injured wing. "I'm going to move you to the residential section, my apartment. It's small, but it has better security than this shop." Just before Cale closed the lid, it looked up at him with an expression that seemed almost like gratitude. He sealed the crate and hoisted it onto a grav sled. His apartment was only 10 minutes away, but those would be the longest 10 minutes of his life. The station was waking up. Early shift workers trudged toward their assignments. Cargo haulers moved between landing pads. Everything looked normal, but Cale could feel eyes on him. Real or imagined, it didn't matter. He kept his pace steady, just another mechanic hauling parts. 2 station security officers passed him without a glance. A Tellurian trader nodded in greeting. Cale forced himself to nod back. Then he saw them. 3 Draconid soldiers, different from the ones who'd searched his shop, standing near the main concourse. They were questioning people, showing them something on a holo display. Cale couldn't see it from this distance, but he could guess. A picture of the dragon. He altered course, taking a longer route through the maintenance corridors. His hands were sweating on the grav sled controls. A voice crackled from a nearby intercom. Attention all station personnel. By order of Port Authority, all residents are required to report any sightings of unusual fauna. This is a priority security matter. Cooperation is mandatory. Cale's stomach twisted. The Draconid Empire had enough pull to commandeer station announcements. He reached his apartment building without incident. The elevator seemed to take forever. Finally, the door opened onto his floor, a dingy hallway lined with identical gray doors. Cale unlocked his apartment and pulled the grav sled inside. The space was tiny, a combined living area and bedroom, a bathroom barely large enough to turn around in, a kitchenette with appliances that predated the station itself, but it was home. He opened the crate. The dragon peered out cautiously. We're safe, Cale said, for now. It investigated the apartment, sniffing everything, tail swishing behind it. When it reached the window overlooking the landing pads, it froze. Cale looked over its shoulder. More Draconid ships had arrived. Sleek, black, bristling with weapons, a full military presence. They really want you back, he murmured. The dragon made a sound of pure fear. Cale's comm unit buzzed again. Same unknown number. He considered ignoring it, but that seemed like a worse idea than answering. Yeah? Cale Brennan. Human. Age 32. No living relatives. No criminal record. Currently employed as an independent mechanic at New Kandera Spaceport. Is this information correct? They knew who he was. They'd done their homework. What do you want? Cale asked. I represent Her Eternal Majesty, Queen Surethes. She is aware that you may have encountered her youngest offspring. The hatchling is named Vexaris. It is royal property and must be returned. I already told your soldiers. I don't have your dragon. The station is now under quarantine. No ships leave. No ships enter. This will continue until Vexaris is recovered. You understand what this means? Cale did. A quarantine would strangle the station's economy. Ships couldn't deliver supplies. Traders couldn't leave. People would panic. There would be riots within days. That's a pretty extreme reaction to losing a pet, Cale said. The voice remained perfectly calm. Vexaris is not a pet. Vexaris is the heir to the eternal throne. Third in the line of succession. Its safe return is not negotiable. Third in line. This wasn't just any royal hatchling. This was royalty with a real claim to power. If someone had found this heir, Cale said carefully, what guarantee would they have that they wouldn't be eliminated as a witness? Credits. Technology. Safe passage anywhere in known space. You would never need to work again. It was a generous offer. Too generous. Which meant there was something they weren't saying. And if someone refused? Cale asked. The pause was brief. Then that person would discover that the Empire's patience has limits. Cale looked at the dragon, Vexaris, curled up by the window. The creature's head was down, but its eyes were open, watchful. They're offering a fortune for you, Cale said. Enough to set me up for life. Vexaris didn't move. But you're scared. Really scared. And you ran from your own family. Cale sat down on the floor, keeping distance between them. What happened? Why would the heir to a throne run away? Vexaris shifted, wings rustling. It looked at Cale for a long moment, then moved closer. Slowly, hesitantly, it extended one small clawed foot and tapped Cale's hand. The touch was warm, deliberate. You're asking me to trust you, Cale said, even though you can't explain why. Vexaris blinked twice. That's a lot to ask. The dragon's eyes held his. There was intelligence there, yes, but also something else. Desperation. Hope. The look of someone who had nothing left but faith in a stranger's kindness. Cale thought about the threat to the station, about the soldiers searching every corner, about the quarantine that would hurt thousands of innocent people, about the smart move, the safe move, the move that would save his own skin. Then he thought about finding a wounded creature in the darkness, about it trusting him enough to stay silent while death searched nearby, about the double blinks and the tiny claw touching his hand. "All right," he said quietly. "I'll help you, but we need a plan. Those ships out there, they're not leaving until they find you. And I'm not exactly equipped to fight an empire." Vexaris made a soft sound, almost like a purr. Kale spent the next hour researching on his terminal, while Vexaris explored the apartment. The dragon moved with surprising grace despite the injured wing, investigating every corner with intense curiosity. When it discovered Kale's small collection of technical manuals, it carefully pawed through them, studying the diagrams. "You can read," Kale observed. Vexaris chirped affirmatively. The research painted a grim picture. The Draconid Empire wasn't just powerful, it was ancient and ruthless. Queen Serathis had ruled for 300 years. She had 6 offspring, all adults now, all competing for the eventual throne. Vexaris, according to what little public information existed, had hatched only 5 standard months ago, the youngest by far. Why would a 5-month-old hatchling flee? What could drive something that young to run from its own mother across hostile space? Kale's terminal chimed. New message. Public channel. He opened it and felt his blood run cold. A holographic image appeared, showing Vexaris in perfect detail. Below it, text in multiple languages. Reward: 500,000 credits for information leading to recovery of royal hatchling. 1 million credits for safe return, no questions asked. Contact Draconid Embassy immediately. That was more money than most people on the station would see in a lifetime. Someone knocked on his door. Kale's hand went to the plasma cutter he'd set on the counter. Vexaris scrambled behind the couch, completely silent. "Who is it?" Kale called. "Station security."
Open up.
That was something, at least. Kale activated the door panel. 2 human security officers stood in the hallway. Kale recognized one of them, Martinez, a decent guy who'd helped him out during a drunk customer incident last year. "Kale," Martinez said, "we need to search your apartment." "You got a warrant?" "Don't need one. Station-wide emergency authorization. The dragon thing." Martinez looked uncomfortable. "Look, just let us check, and we'll be out of your way. I don't like this any more than you do. Make it quick." The officers entered, scanning with handheld devices. Kale's heart hammered. The devices were standard issue, meant to detect life signs and heat signatures. Would they pick up Vexaris? Martinez moved through the kitchenette, checking cabinets. The other officer, younger and nervous-looking, scanned the bedroom area. Neither looked behind the couch where Vexaris was hiding. "You heard about the reward?" the young officer said. "1,000,000 credits. Can you imagine?" "Keep focused," Martinez said sharply. They finished their sweep. Martinez gave Kale an apologetic shrug. "Sorry for the intrusion. Orders from the top." "How many more apartments are you searching?" Kale asked.
"All of them. Every residence, every shop, every storage bay."
"The Draconids aren't messing around." Martinez lowered his voice. "Between you and me, get off station if you can. This situation's going to get ugly." The officers left. Kale waited until their footsteps faded, then checked behind the couch. Vexari was pressed flat against the wall, perfectly still, barely breathing. The thermal blanket from the crate was draped over its body. "Smart," Kale said. "You covered yourself to hide your heat signature." It looked up at Kale and made a questioning sound. "They didn't find you, but they're searching everywhere." Kale sat down heavily. Martinez was right. "We need to get you off station, but the quarantine means no ships can leave. We're trapped." Then it moved to the terminal and pawed at the screen. "What are you—" The dragon brought up a map of the station. Its claw tapped a section near the exterior hull, the emergency shuttle bays. Kale leaned closer. "Those are for evacuation only. They're locked down and monitored. We can't just steal a shuttle." Vexaris tapped the screen again, more insistently. Then it pulled up another window, the station maintenance schedules. Specifically, the automated systems that controlled the emergency bays. "You want me to hack the system?" Kale said slowly. "Release a shuttle without triggering alarms?" "I'm a mechanic, not a slicer. I don't have those skills." Vexaris looked at him, then back at the screen. It pulled up a new search, maintenance access codes. Specifically, the backdoor protocols used by technicians to bypass security for legitimate repairs. Kyle felt a chill. "How do you know about those?" The dragon couldn't answer in words, but the implication was clear. Vexaris had access to information it shouldn't. Royal information.
"You've been planning this," Kale said.
"The escape. You knew about the maintenance codes before you ever got here. Who taught you? Who helped you get this far?" The dragon's expression changed. It looked sad, or as close to sad as a dragon could look. It touched the screen again, pulling up a news article 3 months old. Draconid Court announces engagement of Crown Princess Theraxis. Below the headline was an image. A dragon, adult-sized, elegant, and powerful. Her scales were the same iridescent purple as Vexaris's. Your sister? Cale guessed. Double blink. She helped you escape. It pulled up another article newer. Princess Theraxis dies in tragic accident. Empire mourns. Cale's throat tightened. They killed her. Because she helped you. Vexaris made a sound of pure grief. It was the first time Cale had heard it make such an emotional noise. The dragon's whole body shook. And if they catch you, they'll do the same thing. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. Cale paused. That's why you're running. You're not just escaping. You're trying to survive a power struggle.
A young heir. Older siblings competing for the throne.
A sister willing to help the youngest escape, paying for it with her life. This wasn't a simple case of a runaway child. This was palace intrigue and assassination. Why would your own mother let them kill your sister? Cale asked. Vixaris turned away from the screen. It couldn't or wouldn't answer. A new message appeared on Cale's terminal. Different sender this time. Encrypted channel. He opened it cautiously. The video showed a Draconid, massive and intimidating, standing in what looked like a throne room, not Queen Serathis. Someone else. Male with scales of deep crimson and gold.
Human mechanic,
The dragon said. I am Prince Malthrax, first heir to the eternal throne. My youngest sibling has been infected with dangerous ideology. It must be returned for deprogramming and correction. If you assist in its recovery, you will have my personal gratitude. If you harbor it, you will be considered an enemy of the Empire and dealt with accordingly. You have 6 hours to make your decision. The message ended. Cale looked at Vexaris, infected with dangerous ideology. What does that mean? Vexaris moved to the terminal again. This time it pulled up restricted files, documents that should have been impossible for a civilian to access. They were Draconid political manifestos, philosophical treatises, calls for reform. One document caught Cale's eye, proposal for democratic representation in the Eternal Throne. You want to change how your empire is ruled, Cale said softly. You want democracy. Vexaris blinked twice, and your brother Malthrax can't allow that. It would end his path to absolute power. Cale rubbed his face. You're not just running from your family. You're running from an entire system that sees you as a threat. The dragon looked up at him with those golden eyes, waiting, trusting Cale thought about the reward. About the threats. About 6 hours to make a decision that would determine not just his fate, but the fate of a child who dreamed of freedom. All right, he said. We're getting you off this station. But we're going to need help. Cale had exactly 3 friends on New Canderous Station, and he was about to ask them to commit treason against an interstellar empire. The first was Lyra, a data technician who owed him for fixing her personal shuttle when she couldn't afford the corporate repair shops. The second was Torin, a cargo handler with connections to the less-than-legal side of station operations. The third was Dr. Yuki Chen, the station's xenobiologist who'd once treated Cale for radiation exposure and never reported it to his insurance company. He sent 3 messages, each carefully worded. Need urgent help with a mechanical problem. My place. While waiting for responses, Cale set up Vexaris in the bathroom with water and some protein bars. The dragon sniffed the food suspiciously. It's not gourmet, but it's edible, Cale said. Vexaris took a tentative bite, made a face that transcended species barriers, but ate anyway. 20 minutes later, Lyra arrived first. She was tall and thin, with silver hair and cybernetic eyes that glowed faint blue in dim light. She took one look at Cale's expression and locked the door behind her. This is bad, isn't it? Before I explain, I need you to know you can walk away right now. No judgment. No hard feelings. That bad. Lyra sat down. Show me. Cale opened the bathroom door. Vexaris poked its head out, clutching a half-eaten protein bar in one claw. Lyra's cybernetic eyes widened, pupils contracting as they automatically adjusted focus and analyzed the creature. That's the dragon. The royal hatchling. The one with the 1 million credit reward. Yes. You're harboring the most wanted fugitive in the sector. Yes. You beautiful idiot. You incredible, stupid, compassionate idiot. Will you help? The dragon watched her cautiously, head tilted. Can it understand us? Can't speak, but understands perfectly. Lyra stood and approached slowly. She crouched down to be on eye level with the dragon. Hey there, I'm Lyra. I'm guessing you didn't ask for any of this. Vexaris blinked twice. And you trust this idiot mechanic to keep you safe? Double blink? Lyra glanced at Kale. What's the plan? Use maintenance codes to bypass security. Get off station before anyone realizes what's happening. That's not a plan. That's a suicide wish. But Lyra was already pulling up her wrist terminal, fingers flying across the holographic interface. Emergency Bay 7 is the least monitored. Automated systems only, no guards. But the quarantine lockdown means the shuttle cores are disabled remotely. We'd need to physically reactivate them. Can you do that? I can splice the activation sequence if someone can access the core housing. But that requires mechanical work. She looked at Kale. Your department. Torin arrived next, a burly man with scars across his bald head and a reputation for not asking questions. When he saw Vexaris, he whistled low. That's the dragon. Word travels fast, Kale said. Everyone's talking about it, half the station's hunting for it, other half's trying to figure out how to hide from the Draconids when this all goes bad. Torin studied Vexaris. Why'd you pick this idiot to trust? Vexaris chirped. Fair enough. Torin pulled out a small scanner. The hallway outside is clear for now, but there are patrols every 15 minutes. Draconid soldiers and station security, both groups looking for our friend here. Chen arrived last. She was petite, sharp-eyed, and carrying a medical bag. She entered, saw the dragon, and immediately went into examination mode. The wing, she said. Let me see. Vexaris hesitated, then extended the injured wing. Chen examined the plasma burn with gentle efficiency. Your field dressing probably saved its life. But this needs proper care. The wing structure is more complex than I expected. She looked at Kale. You know what you're doing is insane, right? I've been told. Then you won't be surprised when I tell you this creature needs at least 2 weeks of recovery before it should attempt flight. The wing won't support its weight until the plasma damage fully regenerates. We don't have 2 weeks, Kale said. I'm aware. Which is why I'm going to show you how to maintain the dressing and administer pain medication. Dr. Chen began working on the wing while speaking to Vexaris in a calm voice. This is going to hurt, but you need to stay still. The dragon remained motionless during the treatment, only small tremors betraying its discomfort. When Dr. Chen finished, she packed up her supplies. The Draconids are offering significant resources to the station medical bay. Equipment, medicine, things we desperately need. All contingent on recovering the hatchling. Are you having second thoughts? Kale asked. No, I'm telling you what the stakes are. This station will turn on you if the price gets high enough. She met his eyes. We need to move fast. Kale gathered everyone around his small table. Vexaris hopped up onto a chair, watching the proceedings with focused attention. Here's the situation, Kale said. Prince Malthrax gave me 6 hours to hand over Vexaris. That was 40 minutes ago. We have maybe 5 hours before they escalate. The quarantine means normal ships can't leave, but emergency shuttles can launch if there's a legitimate crisis. So we'd create a crisis? Torin said. No. Too many people could get hurt. Kale pulled up the station schematics. We bypass the system, activate a shuttle manually, and go before anyone realizes what happened. From here to Emergency Bay 7 is a 15-minute walk through maintenance corridors. Less foot traffic, but also more chances to be trapped if someone spots us. What about once we're off station? Dr. Chen asked. Those Draconid warships will shoot down any shuttle that launches. Everyone looked at Kale. I'm working on that part. He lied. His terminal buzzed. Another message, same encrypted channel as before. Kale opened it. Prince Malthrax appeared again, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him stood a figure that made Kale's breath catch, Queen Serathis herself. She was massive, easily 3 times the size of her son. Her scales were pure white, almost luminescent. Eyes like molten gold fixed on the camera with terrifying intensity. When she spoke, her voice was ancient and layered with harmonics that made the terminal speakers crackle. Kale Brennan, I am Serathis, Eternal Queen of the Draconid Empire. You have something that belongs to me. Vexaris made a sound of pure terror and scrambled off the chair, hiding under the table. I know you believe you are protecting my youngest offspring. I know you see yourself as noble. But you do not understand what you are dealing with. The Queen's tail moved in the background, a serpentine shape that suggested barely controlled power. Vixaris has been exposed to dangerous ideals, corruption that threatens the stability of our entire civilization. It must be recovered and corrected before this infection spreads. I will give you one chance, human. Bring Vexaris to Docking Bay 1. You will be compensated beyond your wildest dreams. Refuse, and I will ensure that every person in this station suffers for your choice. I will make them blame you. I will make them hate you, and I will make you watch as everything you care about burns. The message ended. The apartment was silent. Under the table, Vixaris was shaking so hard its scales rattled. That was the Queen, Lyra whispered. The actual Queen. Torrin's face had gone pale. She's not bluffing about hurting the station. The Draconid Empire has ended entire civilizations for less. Dr. Chen looked at Kale. What do we do? Kale slid down to sit on the floor, putting himself at eye level with Vixaris under the table. The dragon's golden eyes were wide with fear. Yeah, Kale said softly. Look at me. I made you a promise. I'm keeping it. He looked at his friends. All of you. You can walk away. Right now. I won't think less of you. None of them moved. You saved my life when I couldn't pay, Lyra said. I'm in. I've done stupider things for worse reasons, Torrin added. Chen nodded. Someone needs to keep this idiot alive. Kale felt something break open in his chest, warm and painful and good. Then, let's get to work. We have 4.5 hours. They divided the tasks with military precision. Lyra would handle the electronic components, creating false system alerts to distract security. Torrin would secure their route through the maintenance corridors and procure supplies. Dr. Chen would prepare medications for the journey and monitor Vexaris' condition. Kale would handle the mechanical aspects, getting the shuttle ready for launch. But first, they needed to move Vexaris to a safer location. Kale's apartment was compromised. Too many people had seen him, and the next search would be more thorough. Torrin knew a place. Cargo Storage Bay 12. It's registered to a company that went bankrupt 3 years ago. Station never bothered to reassign it. Dead zone in the security grid. They wrapped Vixaris in thermal blankets again and placed the dragon in a maintenance cart Torrin had brought. The cart was designed for hauling ventilation components, large enough to hide a small dragon and common enough not to draw attention. The journey through the corridors was the longest 15 minutes of Kale's life. They passed 2 security patrols and 1 group of Draconid soldiers. Each time Kale felt his heart trying to hammer through his ribs, but Torrin had timed it perfectly, and no one stopped them. Storage Bay 12 was dark and dusty, filled with abandoned crates and old equipment. Perfect. They set up a makeshift camp in the back corner behind stacked containers. Lyra immediately began working on a wrist terminal, fingers flying through code. The security system has tripwires I didn't expect, she muttered. Draconid military-grade encryption. They're not taking chances. Vixarius crawled out of the cart and immediately began exploring, despite Dr. Chen's protests about resting the injured wing. The dragon moved through the shadows with surprising stealth, examining everything. Curious little thing, Torrin observed. Intelligent little thing, Dr. Chen corrected. Look at the pattern of movement. It's systematically checking the perimeter, identifying exits, assessing defensive positions. That's not curiosity, that's tactical thinking. Kyle watched the dragon work. Chen was right. Vexaris moved like someone who'd been trained in survival, someone who understood threat assessment. How old did you say it was? He asked. Chen said. But Draconids mature differently than humans. 5 months for them might be equivalent to 5 years of human cognitive development, maybe more. Vixaris returned from its inspection and chirped at Kale, then gestured toward a stack of crates with one claw. What? Kale asked. The dragon repeated the gesture more emphatically. It wanted him to look at something. Kale approached the crates. They were marked with shipping codes that meant nothing to him, but Vexaris pawed at one specifically. Kale pried it open. Inside were components. Military-grade components. Weapons parts, shield generators, things that definitely shouldn't be in an abandoned storage bay. Torrin, Kale called. Whose cargo is this? This isn't supposed to be here. These are black market weapons. High-end stuff. In a storage bay no one's supposed to know about? Someone's using it as a smuggling waypoint. Torrin checked the other crates. There's enough firepower here to start a small war. Lyra looked up from her terminal. Or defend against one. Dangerous. Probably suicidal, but maybe their only chance. Can we use this? He asked. The weapons. Can we outfit the shuttle with them? You want to fight Draconid warships? Dr. Raven. Chen looked at him like he'd lost his mind. But I want them to think we can fight back. Create enough uncertainty that they hesitate before shooting us down. Torin examined a shield generator. This tech is stolen military hardware. Good stuff. With the right modifications, we could give a shuttle some real defensive capability. But installation would take time. Hours of work. We have 4 hours before Malthrak's deadline. Then we better work fast. They fell into organized chaos. Torn and Kale hauled components to a workspace they cleared in the center of the bay. Lyra mapped out the modifications needed to integrate alien weapon systems with human shuttle architecture. Chen tended to Vexaris and kept watch at the bay entrance. The dragon insisted on helping despite its injury. It couldn't do heavy lifting, but its small claws were perfect for detailed work. Kale found himself working alongside the creature, watching as Vexaris instinctively understood technical systems that should have been beyond it. You've done this before, Kale said, watching the dragon expertly connect 2 power conduits. Someone taught you. Vexaris paused, then made a sound that might have been affirmation. It touched a small pendant hanging from its neck that Kale hadn't noticed before. The metal was Draconid in design, but the symbol was unfamiliar. Your sister gave you that, Kale guessed. Double blank. She taught you more than philosophy, didn't she? She taught you how to survive. Vexaris' eyes shimmered with something that might have been tears. They worked in silence for a while. The only sounds the hum of tools and Lyra's occasional frustrated cursing at particularly stubborn code. 2 hours into the work, Torin's warning system chirped. Someone was approaching the bay. Everyone froze. Hide, Kale whispered to Vexaris. The dragon darted into the shadows without hesitation. Kale, Torin, and Lyra positioned themselves to look like workers doing legitimate salvage. Dr. Chen pulled out a medical scanner and pretended to be cataloging supplies. The bay door opened. Kale expected soldiers. Security. Instead, a single figure entered. Human wearing station maintenance coveralls and carrying a standard toolkit. Young, maybe early 20s, with nervous eyes. The kid stopped when he saw them. Oh. Sorry, I thought this bay was empty. So did we, Kale said carefully. You looking for something? The kid glanced around, clearly weighing options. There's supposed to be cargo here. Time-sensitive pickup. Black market cargo, Torin said flatly. The kid's hand moved towards something under his coveralls. Look, I don't want trouble. Just let me get what I came for, and I'll forget I saw you. Can't do that, Kale said. We need this equipment. You are the mechanic. The kid's eyes widened. You have the dragon. The whole station's looking for you. Kyle's hand moved to the plasma cutter at his belt. Yeah, and you're trying to escape. The kid looked at the scattered components, at the half-assembled shuttle modifications. That's suicide. They'll shoot you down before you clear the station perimeter. Got a better idea? Kale asked. The kid was quiet for a moment. The reward is 1 million credits. I know. That's life-changing money. I could buy off my indenture contract. Get off this station. Start somewhere new. The kid's hand was still moving toward whatever weapon was hidden under the coveralls. I should turn you in. Vexaris emerged from the shadows. The kid jumped, hand jerking away from the weapon. The dragon approached slowly, head low, wings partially extended, in a gesture that Dr. Chen later said was a Draconid sign of peaceful intent. Vexaris stopped a few feet from the kid and looked up with those golden eyes. It's just a baby, the kid whispered. A baby that thinks democracy is better than monarchy, Kale said. A baby whose sister was killed for helping it escape. A baby that would rather die running than live in a cage. The kid stared at Vexaris. The dragon stared back. Finally, the kid's shoulders slumped. My indenture contract is with Meridian Corp. They pay minimum wage and charge maximum prices for everything. Food, housing, air. I'll be working it off until I'm 50 if I'm lucky. I know what it's like to be trapped in a system that doesn't care if you live or die. So you're not turning us in, Lyra said. I didn't say that. The kid pulled out his hidden item. Not a weapon. A data chip. I was supposed to pick up cargo and deliver this to a contact. But if I'm abandoning the job anyway, he tossed the chip to Lyra. Navigation codes. Black market routes through the quarantine zone. Pathways the Draconids don't know about because they're too small for their sensors to track. Lyra caught it, eyes widening. This is... Good luck, little dragon. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. That was either the luckiest break of our lives or an elaborate trap, Torin said. Lyra was already analyzing the chip. The codes are legitimate. These routes actually exist in the station architecture. Hidden passages, maintenance ducts, gaps in the sensor grid. We could use these to get to the shuttle bay without being detected. And once we launch, Dr. Chen asked, then we pray the weapons modifications work. They returned to work with renewed intensity. The clock was ticking. 2 hours left. Vexaris helped where it could, but Kale noticed the dragon was moving slower. The wing was causing pain despite the medication. We should rest soon, Dr. Mad. Chen said, noticing the same thing. No time, Vexaris' eyes seemed to say. The dragon pushed through, determined. An hour and a half before the deadline, Kale's comm unit buzzed. Not a message. An incoming call. Public broadcast across the entire station, he answered. Everyone stopped working to listen. Queen Seraphis' voice filled the bay, amplified through every speaker in the station. People of New Kandara, your station harbors a fugitive. A member of my family who has been corrupted by dangerous ideology. I have offered generous compensation for its return. This offer has been refused by someone among you. Therefore, I am implementing new terms. A pause. For every hour that passes without my offspring's return, I will reduce the station's oxygen supply by 5%. In 20 hours, you will begin to suffocate. In 30 hours, you will be dead. Choose wisely who you protect. The broadcast ended. The bay was silent. Then, from somewhere in the station, alarms began to sound. Not security alarms. Environmental alarms. The oxygen processing was actually shutting down. She's killing the entire station, Lyra whispered. 30,000 people? She's going to kill them all unless we hand over one baby dragon? Kale looked at Vexaris. The dragon's expression was devastated. Guilt and horror warred in those golden eyes. This isn't your fault, Kale said firmly. This is her choice, her cruelty. But he could see the damage was done. Vexaris believed it was responsible for the deaths about to happen. Torin's comm unit exploded with messages. People are panicking. They're organizing search parties. Vigilante groups. They're going to tear this station apart looking for the dragon. Then we move now, Kale said. Deadline or not. We get to that shuttle and we launch. Right now. We're not ready, Lyra protested. We'll finish the modifications during the escape. But if we wait, we're dead anyway. They gathered supplies, loaded the shuttle components onto grav sleds, and prepared for the most dangerous journey of their lives. Vexaris stood in the center of it all, small and fragile, the weight of 30,000 lives in its golden eyes. Kale knelt down beside the dragon. None of this is your fault. You hear me? None of it. Vexaris didn't blink in affirmation. It just looked at him with an expression that said it didn't believe him. But it climbed onto the grav sled anyway. They moved out into the corridor, into the chaos of a dying station, racing against time in an empire's wrath. The station was falling apart. Kale could hear it in the screams echoing through the maintenance corridors, see it in the wild-eyed people running past without purpose. Panic was a living thing, spreading faster than reason. Oxygen at 90%, Lyra reported, checking her wrist terminal as they navigated the hidden passages from the black market navigation chip. She wasn't bluffing. They moved single file, Kale leading with a plasma cutter ready, Torin covering the rear with a scavenged stun weapon. Dr. Chen kept one hand on Vexaris, monitoring the dragon's vitals. Lyra guided them through the maze of ducts and forgotten spaces. They were 20 minutes from the emergency shuttle bay when they encountered the first search party. Voices ahead, multiple people. Angry. Kale signaled everyone to stop. They pressed against the wall as a group passed the intersection ahead. 6 people, armed with improvised weapons, shouting about the reward and survival. Someone said the mechanic lives in Section 7, one voice carried back. We check every apartment. Tear them apart if we have to. My kids are on this station. Vexaris was shaking again. Doctor! Chen stroked the dragon's scales gently, whispering reassurance. They reached a junction point where the maintenance passage intersected with the main corridor. They had to cross it to reach the next hidden section. 30 feet of open exposure. Kale checked both directions. Clear. Go. Fast and quiet. Almost made it. There. Kale spun. 3 station security officers, weapons drawn. Stop right there, Martinez said. The officer who'd searched Kale's apartment looked sick but determined. I'm sorry, Kale, but 30,000 people are going to die. We have to take the dragon. You know what they'll do to it, Kale said. It's not my problem. I've got a family on this station. Behind Kale, Vexaris made a sound. A decision. The dragon stepped forward, off the grav sled, moving toward the security officers. No, Kale said. Don't you dare. Vexaris looked back at him with those golden eyes. The message was clear. It was going to surrender. Save the station by sacrificing itself. Like hell, Kale growled. He grabbed Vexaris and ran. Stop! Martinez shouted. Plasma fire scorched the wall next to Kale's head. He ducked into the passage entrance as return fire came from behind him, Torin providing cover. They ran through passages never meant for running. Kale's lungs burned. His arms ached from carrying Vexaris. Behind them, pursuit. Security officers and search parties converging B. Next, left, Lyra gasped. Then, up the ladder, 50 feet. That puts us at the shuttle bay level. The ladder was vertical, rungs slick with condensation. Cal couldn't climb it while carrying Vexaris. Take the dragon, he told Dr. Chen. I'll hold them off. I'll hold. You get that creature to safety. Torin! I said go! Torin positioned himself at the ladder base, weapon ready. I knew a kid once. Smart kid, different than others. System didn't like that. Crushed him for being different. His scarred face softened, looking at Vexaris. Not this time. Go! Kale wanted to argue, but there was no time. He slung Vexaris across his shoulders like a pack, ignoring the dragon's squawk of protest, and climbed. Below, plasma fire erupted, Torin's voice shouting challenges, buying them seconds they desperately needed. The ladder seemed endless. Kale's muscles screamed. Vexaris dug claws into his shoulders to keep from falling, drawing blood but giving him stability. They reached the top. Lyra was already through the access hatch, Dr. Chen right behind her. One last plasma blast from below. Then silence. Torin, Kale called down.
No response.
We have to go, Lyra said, her voice breaking. He bought us the time. Don't waste it. The shuttle bay stretched before them, a vast chamber designed for mass evacuation. Rows of emergency shuttles sat in their launch cradles, dark and dormant. The quarantine had killed their power, but Bay 7's shuttle was there, waiting. They ran across the open floor, every second expecting alarms, security, Draconid soldiers. The shuttle was a standard evacuation model, designed to hold 50 people in cramped conditions. It wasn't meant for combat or long-distance travel, but Lyra had modified what she could remotely. Kale set Vexaris down gently and began manual power-up procedures while Lyra worked on the launch systems. Dr. Chen monitored the bay entrance. Oxygen at 85%, Lyra reported. Station-wide riots starting. This is bad. Kale ran through the pre-flight checklist at triple speed. They had maybe 5 minutes before someone realized what they were doing. We're missing the shield generators, Kale said. Torin had them on his sled. Without shields, the warships outside would tear them apart the moment they launched. Vexaris made an urgent sound. The dragon ran to the shuttle's rear cargo compartment and started pawing through emergency supplies. What are you... Kale began. Vexaris pulled out a standard emergency kit, the kind every shuttle carried. Inside were basic repair tools, thermal blankets, and a small power cell. The dragon looked at these items, then at Kale, then back at the items. You can't possibly build a shield generator from emergency supplies, Dr. Chen said. Vexaris' look clearly said, watch me. The dragon began working with frantic speed, claws flying across components with impossible precision. It wasn't building a generator. It was building something else, a beacon. It's a distress signal, Lyra realized, analyzing what Vexaris was creating. A Draconid royal distress signal, but modified, enhanced. The bay doors burst open. Draconid soldiers poured in, a dozen of them, weapons charged and aimed. Behind them, station security. Behind them, an angry mob. And walking calmly through them all, making them part like water, came Queen Cerethis herself. She was massive in person, her white scales seeming to glow with inner light. Every step radiated absolute authority. She stopped 50 feet from the shuttle and fixed her molten gold eyes on Kale. Enough, she said. Her voice carried without shouting, resonating in a frequency that made Kale's bones ache. You cannot win. Surrender my offspring and live. Refuse and watch everyone die. Kale stood in the shuttle doorway, Vexaris behind him. Your offspring doesn't want to go back. It is corrupted, sick. It needs correction. It needs freedom. Freedom is a poison, an illusion that destroys civilizations. I have ruled for 300 years, human. I have seen empires rise and fall. Democracy leads only to chaos. Vexaris will learn this. Even if you have to kill it to teach the lesson, Kale shot back. Something flickered in the queen's eyes. I have had 6 offspring. 5 understand their duty. One was weak, allowed sentiment to corrupt judgment. That one is dead because she chose poorly. I will not lose another to the same disease. You killed your own daughter, Dr. Password, Chen said, voice shaking with rage. I killed a traitor. There is a difference. Vexaris appeared in the doorway beside Kale. The young dragon looked at its mother across the bay. For a moment they simply stared at each other, 3 centuries of tyranny facing 5 months of hope. Then Vexaris activated the device it had built. The beacon shrieked to life, a piercing signal that made everyone in the bay clap hands over ears. But it wasn't just sound, it was data, a broadcast on every Draconid frequency simultaneously. Images flooded out. Memories? Vexaris' memories. The bay's holographic displays activated against all protocols, showing what the dragon wanted the Empire to see. Princess Theraxis, teaching her youngest sibling about freedom and choice. Documents of corruption in the royal court. Evidence of assassinations. Of silenced dissenters. Of worlds stripped and populations enslaved under the banner of stability. And finally, Theraxis' death? Not an accident. An execution. Sarathis herself giving the order. The Draconid soldiers froze, seeing the broadcast, their weapons lowered slightly. Lies, Sarathis hissed. Fabrications created by corruption. Are they? Kale asked. Because you just threatened to kill 30,000 innocent people to recover 1 child. What kind of stability requires that much cruelty? The queen's scales darkened. You know nothing of ruling, human. Of the weight of maintaining order across worlds. A tyrant so afraid of losing power that she'll murder her own children to keep it. Sarathis moved then, faster than something that large should move. She crossed the distance to the shuttle in heartbeats, but she didn't attack. She looked at Vexaris, really looked, and for the first time Kale saw something other than cold authority in her eyes. You would choose this? The queen asked her youngest offspring. Exile? Constant flight? A life of hiding and fear, rather than return home? Vexaris blinked twice. Why? The dragon couldn't speak, but it pulled up one final image on the broadcast. Princess Theraxis smiling, saying words in Draconid that the station's translator rendered as, "Every being deserves the right to choose their own path." When she spoke again, her voice was quieter. She always was too idealistic. Like you. Stand down. Your Majesty? The lead soldier questioned. I said stand down. Remove the oxygen restrictions. End the quarantine.
Shocked silence. Sarathis looked at Kale.
You have won this day, human. Not through strength, but through something I had forgotten. She turned back to Vexaris. You may go, youngest offspring. But understand this. You will never be truly safe. There are others who will hunt you. Others who see your ideals as threats. Vexaris stood taller despite the injured wing. I know, Sarathis continued. I see Theraxis in your eyes. The same foolish courage. The same impossible hope. Something that might have been grief crossed her ancient features. Perhaps I should have listened to her, before it was too late. She stepped back. The shuttle is yours. I will ensure you have a head start, but I cannot protect you beyond that. The Empire is larger than me. Go. Live. Try to build your better world. She paused, and in standard, clearly for Kale's benefit, added, Thank you, mechanic, for showing me what I had become. Then she was gone, her soldiers following, leaving only stunned silence. The shuttle launched 10 minutes later. As they cleared the station, Kale saw Draconid warships pulling back, creating a corridor. A gift. A chance. Vexaris stood at the viewport, watching the station recede. The dragon's reflection in the glass showed those golden eyes bright with tears and determination. Where do we go? Doctor, Chen asked softly. Anywhere, Lyra said. Everywhere, wherever someone needs to know that change is possible. Your sister would be proud. The dragon leaned into the touch, and in that moment, surrounded by unlikely friends in a stolen shuttle heading into an uncertain future, it chirped. Not in grief, in hope. Behind them, the station's oxygen levels normalized. People stopped fighting. Security stood down. And on 1,000 Draconid worlds, a beacon kept broadcasting, showing them all that one small dragon had chosen freedom over tyranny. The revolution wouldn't come tomorrow. Maybe not for years. But it had begun. One small act of kindness at dawn. One mechanic who chose compassion over reward. One baby dragon brave enough to run toward a better future. Sometimes, that's all it takes to change the universe.